Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a skill that's, well, it's popping up everywhere in the age of AI prompt engineering.
That's right.
Think of it as maybe the art and science of talking to AI systems effectively to get really optimal outputs.
Exactly. It's about crafting those inputs carefully.
And for businesses using tools like, say, Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat, getting this right isn't just nice to have anymore, is it?
No, absolutely not. It's becoming critical. It's often the difference between AI giving you kind of mediocre results and truly exceptional ones.
The difference between just okay and something that actually transforms how you work.
Precisely. We're seeing generative AI moving from just, potential on paper to actual real-world applications. But making that leap, it really hinges on how well we can guide these models.
So it's not just what you ask.
No, it's how you ask, how you phrase that prompt to get something back that's not just, factually correct, but deeply relevant, useful for what you need right now.
Okay, makes sense. So in this deep dive, our mission is really to give you a solid handle on what prompt engineering is and critically, why it matters so much right now.
Yeah, we'll look at some frameworks, some techniques you can actually use.
Right, and then bring it to life with some practical examples, like how you'd use it for different business tasks.
Exactly, real-world stuff. And finally, maybe touch on how organizations can, encourage people to use these skills to really boost productivity.
Perfect. Okay, let's dive in then. What exactly are we talking about when we say prompt engineering?
Well, fundamentally, it's about designing those input prompts you feed into an AI.
The initial instruction.
Right, but it's more than just asking a question off the cuff. It's iterative.
Iterative. How so?
You refine the prompts.
Yeah.
You test them, see what you get back, adjust them. The aim is to sort of steer the AI's behavior.
Okay, guiding it.
Yeah, guiding it. So its responses line up with your specific business needs, your goals. It takes, attention to detail, maybe a bit of creativity too.
And patience, I imagine. Testing and adjusting.
Definitely patience. It's about experimenting to really squeeze the maximum value out of these AI tools, maximizing that ROI.
So it's less like a quick chat and more like a carefully planned conversation.
That's a good way to put it. Deliberate, refined interaction.
Okay. So why is this so important now, especially with generative AI becoming so widespread?
Think about it this way. The actual usefulness of what a generative AI spits out, it's almost entirely dependent on the quality of the input you gave it.
Garbage in, garbage out, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. A vague prompt or one that's poorly worded, it's likely to give you something inaccurate or just irrelevant, not really helpful.
Right, wastes time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So good prompt engineering, it directly boosts productivity because the AI gives you better, more relevant results faster. When you integrate these prompting techniques into your workflows, the AI's output becomes more consistent, more aligned with what your business actually needs and, upholds your standards.
That really clarifies it. Moving from unpredictable AI chats to, well, controlled productive dialogue. So what are the core ideas, the principles behind crafting these effective prompts?
There are three big ones, really. First, clarity. Super important.
Clarity makes sense.
Your prompt needs to be easy to understand for you and, crucially, for the AI. Any ambiguity, that just invites misinterpretation, leads to less useful results.
Okay, clarity first. What's next?
Second, specificity. Be specific.
More detail.
Yeah. The more precise you are about what you want, the more focused and, frankly, higher quality the AI's output will be.
So instead of just summarize this.
Right. Say, summarize the key findings of this report for an executive audience focusing on financial implications in under 200 words. Much better.
Got it. Clarity, specificity. What's the third?
Third is contextual understanding. You need to give the AI enough background.
Context. Why is that so critical?
Well, it helps the AI grasp the intent behind your request, the nuances. So it can respond in a way that's genuinely relevant and helpful within that specific situation.
Clarity, specificity, context. Okay, those sound like pillars of just good communication generally, actually.
They really are.
Are there more specific, best practices that build on these for prompt engineering itself?
Oh, absolutely. Loads of practical tips. Always try to be as specific and detailed as you can. Don't be afraid to spell things out.
More detail is better than less.
Usually, yes.
Well.
And if you have a complex task, break it down. Give the AI smaller sequential steps to follow within the prompt.
Okay, chunking it up.
Yeah. And using examples. That's huge. Show the AI what kind of output format or style you're looking for.
Like a template.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, Always provide that relevant context we mentioned and define any constraints, things it shouldn't do, or boundaries it needs to respect.
Right. Don't assume it knows the limits.
Never assume. And remember that iteration piece. Refining is key. Your first try probably won't be perfect.
Keep tweaking.
Keep tweaking. You need a specific format, a table, bullet points, whatever state the format requirements clearly.
Tell it how you want it presented.
Yep. And this is crucial. Remember that human expertise and judgment are still essential.
Ah, yes. The AI is a tool, not a replacement.
Precisely. It assists, it augments, but you still need your critical thinking. Oh, and one more, start simple.
Don't overcomplicate it from the get-go.
Right. Start with a basic prompt and add layers of complexity as you need them and as you see how the AI responds.
Those are really practical tips, things you can use straight away. Now, you mentioned iteration and refinement a few times. Are there specific techniques for optimizing prompts based on what the AI gives back?
Yes, definitely. A core technique is just iterative testing.
Trying again and again.
Basically, yeah. Systematically, adjust your prompt based on the output, run it again, see what changed. It's that cycle. Prompt, evaluate, refine.
Okay.
Tied to that is setting up feedback loops.
Feedback loops.
Meaning you consciously analyze the output against what you expected, what went wrong, what went right, and you use those insights to specifically change your next prompt.
So learning from the results to improve the input.
Exactly. If the AI keeps misunderstanding one part, your feedback helps you rephrase that part more clearly next time. And sometimes leveraging data sets helps.
How does that work?
You might provide specific data points or examples from a data set directly within the prompt as context. This can lead to much more tailored and accurate results, especially for analytical tasks.
So it's this continuous learning process, refining the conversation. Now, I know there are more structured ways to approach this too. We've talked principles, practices. What about established frameworks, like prompt engineering templates?
Yeah, there's several frameworks that give you a kind of structure, a checklist almost, for building good prompts. They can be really helpful.
Okay, like what?
Well, one common one is the RICCE framework.
RICCE, what does that stand for?
Role, input, context, constraints, and evaluation.
Okay, break that down.
So, role. What persona should the AI adopt? A legal analyst, a marketing expert. Input. What data or information does it need? Context. What's the background situation? Constraints. What are the boundaries or limitations like word count, tone, things to avoid? And evaluation. How will you judge if the output is successful?
Role, input, context, constraints, evaluation. RICC. Okay, that seems pretty comprehensive.
It is. Another useful one is CARE.
CARE.
Context, action, result, and example.
Simpler.
A bit, yeah. Context, set the scene. Action, what do you want the AI to do? Result, what should the final output look like? And example, give it a concrete illustration of the desired output.
Okay, RCCE and CARE both provide a clear structure. Are there others people use?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's the CREATE framework.
CREATE, let me guess.
It stands for character or persona, similar to role and role. Request, examples, adjustment, type of output, and extras.
Character, request, examples, adjustment, type of output, extras. Wow, okay.
Yeah, it's quite detailed. Emphasizes the persona, the specific request, examples again, any adjustments you want the AI to make perhaps to its tone or style, the specific type of output format, and any extra bits of info.
Seems thorough. Any more?
There's also RISE, role, input, steps, execution.
Role, input, steps, execution.
Similar, start with role and input, but then it focuses on outlining the specific steps you want the AI to take, like a mini algorithm,
Right.
and then describing the desired final execution or outcome.
Interesting focus on the how.
Exactly. And one more, maybe slightly different, the scorer framework.
Scorer.
Yeah, this one's more like a checklist of qualities for your prompt itself.
Yeah.
Is this specific, clear, objective, relevant, engaging, and refined.
Specific, clear, objective, relevant, engaging, refined. So that's more about evaluating the prompt itself, not just structuring it.
Right. It helps ensure your prompt has the right characteristics. Each of these frameworks, offers a slightly different angle. Which one you use might depend on the task.
That's a really helpful breakdown of those frameworks. Gives you different tools for the job.
Okay, let's make this even more concrete. How about we walk through some practical, real-world examples, putting these principles and frameworks into action for different business functions?
Sounds good. Let's start with something common, like contract review.
Okay, legal documents can get tricky.
Definitely. So imagine you need a quick look at a standard service agreement. Using, say, elements of RDCE or CARE, you might prompt something like this.
Role. Act as a meticulous legal contract analyst. Context. I'm reviewing this attached standard service agreement before we sign it. We're concerned about potential hidden risks. Action. Please identify any clauses related to liability, indemnification, and data privacy compliance that seem ambiguous, overly broad, or potentially disadvantageous to us. Result. Provide a bulleted list summarizing these concerning clauses. For each, briefly explain the potential risk and suggest a specific wording improvement. For example, concern. Section 5.2 regarding data handling lacks specifics required by GDPR. Suggestion. Revise to explicitly detail data processing limits and purpose.
Wow, okay. That's very specific. Role, context, action result, even an example format.
Exactly. Or maybe you need to analyze just specific parts of a master service agreement with a known vendor.
How would that look?
Maybe something like, assume the role of a legal expert focused on tech vendor contracts. Analyze these sections of the attached MSA with vendor name. 1. Intellectual property ownership, Section 8. 2. Limitations of liability, Section 12. 3. Payment terms, Section 5. 4. Termination provisions, Section 15. For each section, identify concerns or risks for us, suggest specific improvements to wording, and briefly note if the clause aligns with typical industry standards for SaaS agreements.
That detailed focus is impressive. Okay, contract review. What about something like analyzing an RFP, a request for proposal?
Right, another common task. For RFP analysis, you can try. Role. You are an experienced proposal specialist. Input. Please analyze the attached RFP document. Context. We need to quickly understand if this is a good fit and what it will take to win. Action. Extract and summarize the core requirements, the evaluation criteria they'll use, and all critical deadlines. Result. Deliver a summary highlighting the top 5 technical requirements, the weighting of evaluation criteria if specified, key submission dates, and identify 2-3 potential competitive advantages we might have based on the requirements.
That's a great starting point for a bid-no-bid decision.
It is. Or you could get more strategic. Conduct a competitive analysis for the opportunity in the attached RFP. Focus specifically on the technical requirements in sections 3 to 5. Based only on those sections, identify 1. Our likely key strengths. 2. Our potential weaknesses or gaps. 3. Suggest 3 unique differentiators we should emphasize. 4. Recommend potential partners who could fill our gaps. Format this as a simple SWOT analysis table focused on technical aspects with clear recommendations.
Using it for competitive intelligence, too. Very smart. Okay, those are analytical. What about more creative tasks, like content creation or maybe planning a social media campaign?
Absolutely. For content creation, let's say a product data sheet. The prompt could be very detailed. Generate a first draft for a product data sheet. Specifications. Product. Our Secure Edge X enterprise security solution. Audience. IT directors, CISOs. Core message. Advanced threat protection with minimal operational overhead. Content needed. 3 key technical features. Bullet points. 2 major customer benefits. Short paragraphs linked to the core message. 1 template for a customer testimonial quote. Tone. Professional, authoritative, solutions-focused.
Defining the audience, message, format, tone, everything.
Exactly. Or for a social media campaign, say on LinkedIn, for a webinar. Design a series of 3 LinkedIn posts to promote our webinar, Digital Transformation Financial Services. Goals, drive registrations, position us as thought leaders, target audience, finance industry executives, IT leaders, and banking insurance. Each post needs 1. An attention-grabbing headline. 2, 3 bullet points on key benefits takeaways for attendees. 3. Clear call to action with registration link. Tone, professional, innovative, forward-thinking.
Again, very goal-oriented and specific about audience and tone. These examples really show how directing the AI with role, context, desired output, format, tone, it makes a huge difference.
It really does. It channels the AI's capabilities effectively.
Okay, let's hit a couple more key business areas. How about financial forecasting?
Sure. For financial forecasting, you might use a prompt drawing on the RISE framework. Role, input, steps, execution. Role. Act as a senior financial analyst. Context. Preparing the Q3 forecast for the technology division using historical data provided or assume access to Q1, Q2 data. Action steps. 1. Analyze Q1, Q2 revenue and expense trends this year versus last year. 2. Identify any significant seasonal patterns affecting Q3 historically. 4. Pinpoint key growth drivers of potential risk factors for the upcoming quarter based on current market conditions optional. Provide brief context.
Okay.
Suggest 3 key performance indicators, KPIs, to track closely for Q3 performance. Execution. Summarize findings and suggestions in a concise memo format.
Using steps to guide the analysis.
Okay.
And one more critical one for many places, fraud detection.
Right. For creating, say, a fraud detection report structure, you could prompt. Create a detailed framework for our quarterly fraud detection report. It must include sections for transaction anomalies detected, internal policy violations logged, and control improvement recommendations. Suggest 3 relevant KPIs to track fraud prevention effectiveness. For example, false positive rate, detection rate, loss avoidance. Outline an executive summary format covering critical incidents, estimated financial impact, remediation actions taken, and emerging threat patterns. Also, include template language for escalating confirmed fraud incidents.
Building the whole structure and suggesting content, that's powerful. These examples are brilliant. They really connect the dots between the theory and the practice. So now we get how to do prompt engineering. How do organizations actually get people using this stuff effectively? How do they drive adoption and ultimately boost productivity with tools like Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Driving adoption needs a few things working together.
Like what?
First off, access to good learning resources is key.
Training materials.
Exactly. Things like Evolve 365, maybe specific LinkedIn learning courses on generative AI. Microsoft and LinkedIn have some good ones, and definitely Microsoft Learn, especially modules on responsible AI and, effective prompting for Copilot. Make these easy to find and access.
Okay, provide the learning tools. Then what?
Encourage people to start small. Don't try to boil the ocean on day one. Use it for simple, low-risk tasks first. Build confidence.
Get some easy wins.
Right, and foster a culture where it's okay to practice these techniques, maybe even set aside time for it. And crucially, share successes.
How do you mean?
Encourage teams to share prompts that worked well. What did they ask? What did they get back? Why was it good? Create internal libraries or channels for sharing best practices. Collaborative learning.
Learn from each other. Good idea.
Very important. And of course, always follow organizational guidelines and policies.
The rules around AI use, data privacy, ethics.
All of that. Super important. And keep reinforcing the message. AI augments, it doesn't replace. It's a tool to enhance human capabilities, human judgment.
That message is key for adoption, I bet, so people don't feel threatened.
Exactly. And one more thing ties into that. Showing the value.
You mean like case studies, success stories?
Absolutely fundamental. Compelling case studies and clear success stories are probably the best way to get buy-in.
Show, don't just tell.
Precisely. When you can show real-world examples, maybe how a specific prompt saved X hours on reporting, or generated really novel marketing ideas, or helped identify a contract risk that provides tangible evidence.
Proof that it works and delivers value.
Right. It demonstrates the practical benefits to teams, to managers, to leadership, publicizing those wins. That really encourages broader adoption and shows that strategic prompting with these AI tools delivers real, measurable results.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, this has been incredibly insightful, a real deep dive into prompt engineering. If we were to boil it all down, what are the main takeaways you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think the biggest thing is recognizing that actively promoting prompt engineering, it isn't just a tech thing. It's essential for actually getting value from generative AI in your business.
It's a core business skill now.
It really is. By investing time and understanding how these models work, and then being deliberate about implementing good prompting techniques, organizations can genuinely optimize how they operate, maximize that AI investment. And also, remember that bridging the gap between the tech teams and the business users, that collaboration is critical for successful AI adoption across the board.
Technology and business working together on this.
Essential.
That's a great summary, powerful points. And maybe a final thought for everyone listening. As you reflect on all this, consider how those core principles we talked about, clarity, specificity, context, strategic planning to the heart of prompt engineering. How could applying those same principles more consciously in other parts of your work, maybe in team communication, project planning, even just defining your own task, how could that also drive better results and maybe spark more innovation even without an AI involved? Something to think about.
Definitely something to consider.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.